Welcome in once again for another Thursday live chat. It's the Nice Job podcast presented by Engage, real-time social proof available on your website. Absolutely free. No one believes that part, but it's 100% true. It's absolutely free. It's going to up your conversion rate, get you more leads and sales. So you really can't not have it. So look for it. You can visit the Nice Job page, get Engage absolutely free. And my next individual is joining me here. He always does a nice job, pardon the pun, but he did something and we talked about, I think it was March. I'll get the official date from it. We came together, we did some fun thing. We'll talk about that. But he told me about everything that he was doing kind of throughout the year and how things came together. And I made a little note in my head that at some point as our podcast launched and we got out, I wanted to come back and talk to this individual because he has a really great, like simple way of putting things together. Even though it's great, strong insight. All the way from Salisbury, Maryland, please welcome Rob Anderson. Rob, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Happy to be on here, and yeah, it's a crazy time of year, certainly. And yes, the shenanigans from when you came to visit were that was awesome.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you still feel that way because it was a bit goofy, and it was crazy to think that was March, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
And soon after that, COVID kind of took hold, and in the East Coast, I don't know how it was down truly by you, by the Delmarva area, but I know Maryland got hit hard. I know DMV got hit hard. I know the tri-state area, kind of where I was at the time, got hit really hard, and so it was a drastic change in just a short couple of weeks from the fun we had. But if you want to go back and find that video, I'll make sure to post it in the comments below. I'll link it in the liner notes. Rob gave me the opportunity to come out and try my hand at power washing for the first time. Actually the first time like professionally, I've spread it around. But I was amazed at how much fun your team has out there. It's like quality work, but like I was a little nervous of I'm going to come on. You were with me, but you had two members of your team as well. Like how are they going to feel? And not only get the job done, they really welcome you with open arms. And so it's an amazing culture you had down there. But it was our first chance to really get to meet and kind of talk. So that was fun. But I can't believe that's March. It seems like forever ago, and it also seems like a second ago at the same exact time. Since then, how has your year been? Let's just start there. How's it been since I last seen you in March? How'd the summer go, coming back from COVID and all that?
Sure. So, we've had a crazy year. We have had lots of employee turnover, lots of vehicle issues, lots of new vehicle purchases. We've done a lot this year. When you came to visit me, I think I showed you the shop. Which was in our backyard. We just actually moved into a 12,000 square foot warehouse, right in prime real estate, right on the highway. Way more space than what I ever would have thought. But, I really looked at it and was like, well, we're going to use this building. We're going to use this as a billboard. And I can justify, part of this money that we're spending, which is more than I want to, basically as if we were having a billboard on the side of the highway, 12 months a year. What can we do? And obviously with all of our other marketing and everything, we're always loud, obnoxious, and noticeable, to say the least. So.
Yeah, and it was interesting because you didn't show me the exact spot, but you were telling me about it a bit. So, again, as we talked about, neither of us knew what was about to come here. How much stress that really kind of add on to you, knowing that you were kind of making this big move? I mean, the wheels were already fully in motion when the world's wheels kind of ground to a halt.
Well, okay, so we're literally on week 3 at the new shop. So that just happened. Like we went through the whole spring, and actually COVID in many ways has been a blessing. Some of we were a little understaffed, which was fine. We were able to get a couple of different vehicles up and running. It was certainly a slower spring than we're normally used to. We've had to hire a bunch of people. We actually hired a bunch of, quite frankly, some high schoolers. So now we've had some additional turnover coming to September that we had to, go ahead and plan that we were going to lose them. They were a good hire for that time frame, and hopefully we'll be able to bring them back in the summers and other winter breaks and things. But this whole spring was just kind of a good way to reset. I think I literally would have been gobbled up alive had COVID not happened. We were going to aim to do 100 grand in May and finished at like 65 or something like that. And which is still great.
Yeah.
You know, we've rebounded. We should be caught up to 2019's year to date numbers probably this week or next week. So that's staying on pace with it, which is good in a year where everything is different. So,
and talking about everything's different, or you talk about hiring high schoolers through the summer, and knowing you're kind of losing things like that. For those that kind of aren't familiar with you, you have Clean Power Wash, I'm not mistaken, but you also have Delmarva Christmas Lights.
yep.
Is it the same staff for both?
So what typically happens is we'll build up the staff coming into the fall, and then we'll typically take one truck will continue to do, or two guys will continue to do power washing, and everybody else will go to the Christmas lights. Last year we brought on a couple of temps. This year our hope is to bring on 4 or 5 additional people for the next 2 months. To help out specifically with Christmas lights. I even hired an office person, a second one, to help just oversee and kind of coordinate all of Christmas lights, so that I can either be out selling, or be running one of the Christmas light trailers, since we're doubling that and hoping to triple our overall Christmas lights this year.
And when, give me the timeline of when Clean Power Wash started and when Delmarva Christmas Lights. Was it at the same time, or were you doing one and then added on the other?
No, so my background, we've been in business for 15 years. Up until, goodness, I guess it's been about 8 years ago. It was always something part-time, 20, 25 grand a year, just something to hustle, make a little extra money. Got serious a couple of years ago, grew it to the point where I was able to leave my job at Verizon. And then 2 years ago was our first year doing lights. Kind of got into it, and I think it's going to be, as we discussed, I mean, the process that we've had to go through to add that on. This will be our 3rd season in lights and basically 15th year overall. So it's a whole different beast. So,
and taking that on has to be a big decision, because it's adding, more time. It's a different, kind of service overall. It might be able to use, similar equipment with trucks and things like that, but it's lights versus a power wash there. Was it something that you kind of wanted to fill the calendar? Like why add on something distinctly different like Christmas lights to what you were doing?
So for a lot of power washers, seasonally, you either get to the point where it's cold and you get into snow plowing, pushing snow. Where we are, so if you look at the United States, you see DC and Baltimore, and then here's Delaware. We're that bottom part right below Delaware. Like our new shop is a mile and a half from the Delaware line. So because of where we're at, we typically will get 2 or 3 snowfalls a year. One of which will be a snowfall that's gone by about 11 or 12 in the morning. And so not a whole lot, and not a really good way to be able to build that. I also like to go sledding on those rare occasions when we get snow. So the Christmas lights, my guys are on ladders every day doing work, doing gutters, cleaning roofs and stuff. And so it's a very easy thing to take the same skill set, get a couple different tools, and go to the Christmas lights. And then actually it was more of I need work for these guys to do in January and February, because we'll still do some amount of power washing, but if it's too cold to power wash, we can still take down Christmas lights. So.
Gotcha. Now, it would help, I guess, having a full schedule to retain some employees. I know you talked about having a bit of struggle, but I'm sure them knowing when they're signing on with your company that they're going to be able to kind of work through those seasons and not have to worry for their own sake of trying to restart and refresh. When you first started it, did you go directly with like Delmarva Christmas Lights, and did you try to market it as 2 separate entities, or did you do it as like an add-on from the team that you already know?
So Clean Power Wash Christmas Lights just doesn't make sense in my mind.
Yeah.
And as a lot of guys will do, unless it's like, NiceJob services. NiceJob services could be anything.
Mhm.
You can make that Nice Jobs window cleaning, Nice Job Christmas lights, Nice Job oil, whatever,
Yeah.
gas stations, like who knows, whatever. Um, but so with Irani, I wanted to build two separate ones. We came up with Delmarva Christmas lights. Delmarva is the region that we're in, and we may rebrand it next year, Delmarva Lights or something else. Just wanted to go ahead and establish something separate, build up that Facebook presence as a separate audience. Facebook, I'll call that my superpower for marketing. So we know how to take that. The biggest struggle adding on additional services, or adding on a whole new division, was brand awareness of that and just building up just an overall, even creating a demand. It's not as established of a service where I live.
Yeah. So were you able to harness any of the reputation that you already had through Power Wash and put it into the Christmas lights? Or were you able to use any of that cloud that you had built over time?
Uh, yes and no. I mean, we certainly did use some of it. I know we could have done a much better job of contacting all the power washing clients to let them know that. We basically, anything that we were putting on social, from the Christmas light page, we were sharing over to the power washing page, trying to get those people to like and check out that. It's also a little different too, where who we're marketing to for the Christmas lights is going to be a broader range geographically for us. We're willing to travel much further for Christmas lights, and obviously you got to travel where the money is. With power washing and stuff, people that are paying us $175 for gutter cleaning. That's not really the client that would be the Christmas light person that's going to drop $2,000 on lights.
So how did you start on that research of, finding kind of the target markets for, a holiday light as opposed to power washing? And the reason I generally ask that is because it's spot on. I would assume that if you're going to add something, like, you notice that not necessarily a demand for holiday lights, but that there was the opportunity if you could build it. So you had to build that demand. You mentioned that earlier. So how did you find that target market for something where you also were trying to build demand?
Um, I'd considered adding it on for a while, and I finally put myself, when we got one of the trucks wrapped, I had them put Christmas lights on there, started seeing the people asking about it. The first year was really a whole lot of trial and error, trying to figure out what we could do, and going from zero to anything in basically 2.5, 3 months. And it's so different with Christmas lights. If we bought some stuff to add on window cleaning, we didn't push it that much, but each quarter we have the opportunity to optimize, tweak, and do better in window cleaning. With Christmas lights, you've basically got a 3 or 4 month window to get everything up and running, get the installs done, make that money, and then you've got to wait another 6 months before you can really, regroup, reassess, and kind of go after it. I mean, once lights hits, it's just trying not to drown.
I got you. And you're doing Halloween this year too, getting the lights out a bit earlier?
Yeah, trying to do that, because people go crazy with that. That's one of my biggest. I think that probably is one of the biggest regrets with COVID. Right when they shut down, like the whole U.S. got pretty much panicked and everything.
Yeah.
Was right when we were supposed to go to the Trans World show, which is a huge Halloween thing. Lots of stuff for other Christmas light things. The Clipper, We Hang Christmas Lights group, they were having their convention, which I was supposed to be speaking at. And so I missed out on that huge opportunity to look at the animated lights, all the other things that it can do instead of just static lighting. But we're excited to add the Halloween on. And if nothing else, it gives us an excuse to get in front of people for other marketing purposes.
I'm not gonna lie, at first I thought you were gonna be like, we missed out on that St. Patty's Day light market. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm heavily Irish and did not know about this coming up. But it makes sense. Like, a lot of people in all industries lost, trade shows, lost opportunities, not just to, connect and network, but see new products, get a chance, make deals, perhaps bring on those new products. Which brings me to my next point I want to ask you about is, where did you go about researching hanging holiday lights? Did it come from a mentor? Did it come from a group of things like that? Like, you talked about animated lights and things like that. For me, I just think of the old school, big old bulbs across the roof line there. But obviously, if you're the holiday light person, you have that deeper knowledge. was
So
that something you dove into at the same time you rolled into it?
yeah, so I'd seen a bunch of guys that were already doing the Christmas lights. I was aware of organizations like We Hang Christmas Lights in Clippa, and seen a couple of other guys just doing it outright to do it. Um, it really just kind of, we went to one of the trainings. I asked a bunch of the guys that I knew that were in it. Um, it's a crazy profitable money maker. Your first year, you don't make a whole lot, but then with most models, future years are just labor. You don't have the material costs, so there's a huge upside to that. To everything that gets installed in years 2, 3, and 4, you're running 20-25% cost, and that's just your labor. That's less labor than your original install. So that kind of attracted me to it. Getting involved in other Facebook groups, doing searching on there. Um, and just as far as like the marketing and stuff, that kind of we've kind of learned that. I thought we would be able to do better in some of the rich neighborhoods near me, but realizing that there are areas in Delaware, which is very close to us,
Mhm.
and some further away areas that there's just an insane amount of disposable income there, and communities where they don't have a big yard, they don't own a lawnmower or a ladder or a weed whacker or whatever. Everything else is taken care of for them, so they're going to just write a check, and we take care of lighting up the house.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's as you mentioned, if you guys heard it earlier, exactly kind of where Rob is. Generally familiar there. It's an interesting. If you drive a certain amount in or certain directions, except for towards the water, is you can kind of see some distinct neighborhood dynamic changes
Mhm.
and things like that. So I can imagine, trying to find those target audiences, but then realizing, as you mentioned, that you can drive a bit further, perhaps to do a holiday light job
Mhm.
than you could realistically do a regular, power washing job, or something like that.
Yeah.
How now you started about getting this off, you talked about, going on Facebook. You're absolutely, brilliant at Facebook there. But one thing you said, not only about the holiday lights, but about your building is it's like, it's our billboard out there, like the work that we're doing or the shop that we have is like that marketing that generally sits there. Holiday lights is a great example of the visual appeal of marketing. How have you been able to harness that in both businesses, successfully?
Sure. So visual appeal, and I'd argue that there's ways to do that in more industries than people give it credit for.
Absolutely.
Obviously, with power washing, all the before and afters. I mean, we have fun with the videos showing all the transitions there, the difference in wood and whatnot. Um, we have fun, and you literally take the before and after. Here's the house looking like it was before at night, and you just take a black square or rectangle, and here's the after with the house lit up. And so just showing that difference, like, was so much of, for us, it's about attention. For businesses that do the lights, it's about what else can you do to get attention. That little blowy, floppy thing that they have in front of the car sales, that's just garbage. That's like trashy. At least with the lights, it's getting additional attention over there. It's drawing you to look over like that to it. Um, and then what do you then do with that additional audience? And then with the light stuff, man, people are crazy passionate about Christmas lights and Halloween and any other lights for that matter.
Yeah, and especially this upcoming St. Patty's Day market I'm hearing so much about.
Keep joking about
So
that.
once you kind of start to get some
I was gonna say, with that, there we've got a
go ahead.
bar that we actually lit up, and then what we do is for each different event. So we did red and white for Valentine's, we did the green and white, we did a red, white, and blue for the summer, we did purple and white for the Ravens. Um,
Yeah.
so it's fun. Like people will do that. It is definitely a smaller market. You've got a very tight window to book anything for that, but
And I'm telling you though, but that's probably, you probably get a lot of good word of mouth from that though, because
Mhm.
people are more likely to kind of go to the bar and they may not think about, when they're driving past a neighborhood and see some lights, but that's a great dynamic way. And I always
Yeah.
make the St. Patty's joke, because I was working in corporate culture
Mhm.
and we talked about how everyone does Christmas in July. And I pitched an idea of other like half holidays. And I was like, well,
Mhm.
St. Patty's in September. Like, hey, here's what we're going to do. It's just around fall. We're going to go out just like we do when it's just turning the spring, except now it's just turning the fall. So we'll go to our bar crawls, we'll do this, which all sounds like a foreign concept now.
Yeah.
Bar crawls, things of that nature. That was my big thing. So if there's one thing I get out of this podcast, it's to help business owners. But the second thing is to see if anyone will take on some sort of St. Patty's in September. If you do that, let me know. Send me a message. Anybody that hears this.
Make that happen. So on that note, we usually have our good beer festival down here, which I'm always looking forward to. But because of COVID, that got canceled. But it did get rescheduled to a very important date, May 1st, which happens to be my birthday. So now officially the beer festival is my birthday, and I have invited everyone to come. You just have to pay to come to my birthday.
Well, there you go. That's how you know you've made it. People pay to come to your birthday. That's what I've always heard. But I want to go back to talk about like that visual appealing and like that. And I mentioned like the bar is that has to really attract some attention, things like that. Have you been able to find a way or develop a way to perhaps get or convince someone or introduce them to your power washing services if they know you from holiday lights and vice versa? Like, what's the method you go about when someone's like, hey, like I heard a reputation that you're good at this. How do you go like, well, I also am good at that?
So a lot of it when we do the power washing jobs this time of year, and also with all of our every single text that goes out, this is Rob with Clean Power Washing Delmarva Christmas lights. We're on our way. Here's your invoice, your estimate, all of that has both logos, both brands. So we try as many times to get more impressions for people to see that we do other things. And certainly the Christmas lights, when they see that on the back of our shirts, on our trucks and stuff, they're like, what do you mean Christmas lights? They're always like, literally, dude, you give us money and an idea, and that's it. We take care of everything. We provide it all. We take it down, maintain it, store it. You don't have to, you literally write a check and that's it, and provide electricity.
And that would probably work even if the services are a bit more closely aligned, I would assume. I mean, I don't know if you'd feel the same way, but I think a lot of customer education can lead to great marketing opportunities because they may not know just from the power washing sense of, like, for example, when you did, I forget what you told me. You told me what it was called, but when I was doing the walkway there, that was not yeah, the service cleaner. Yeah. But like those small little touch things like that, like some people might think like, all right, power washing, just the driveway, or just, I had a tree I chopped down, I got something on the side of things like that. I think that kind of customer education has to play a big part in helping to kind of market if you're going to launch a new service, correct?
Absolutely. So, I mean, just simple stuff. Like, I mean, for most of what we do, showing customers like, hey, here's how we prep lights. Here's what we do to make them stay up better. Here's how you can, for mini lights, like everybody has seen that rat's nest of lights. And like, so here's what we do. We take it, we grab the female end, and here's how we ball it so that when we're ready, one, we can count how many lights, like, hey, honey, get all the lights. I don't know if we have enough. And you're like looking at this gigantic mess versus if you take a few minutes when you're done for the year, here's how to store it properly. Like at the end of the day, the person who's going to watch that may or may not be my client, but more views is more views. So if I get 5 views, I might not get anybody who could actually be my client. If I get 500 views, maybe 2 or 3 or 15 of them are people that could potentially give me business, but at least they're seeing that and that we're being a helpful and productive company or person.
Yeah. And that's the sort of thing that goes into all the things that feed that reputation. Is it looks like, just from the holiday lights alone, beautifying the community or, making it a bit more showy, by providing the insight and the education, you're kind of helping. The big thing we talked about when COVID really took a hold is I can't tell you how many times it's just people, I'm like, well, you're the expert. I know these people, are in their homes, but you're the expert. Teaching them something is not going to replace you. And the adage I always use is that a pro baseball player can tell you how to hit a baseball, but I guarantee you will call that pro baseball player if you were ever in a life or death situation and had to hit a baseball. You wouldn't be like, well, he taught me, now I can just do it forever. Like you're always going to look for the experts.
And that's building that relationship and trust with people. They come to see you, they see that in order just to do, you don't have to know as much as to teach. Teaching requires you to be able to demonstrate that expertise, to be able to make sure that you're convincing enough for people to believe that you know what you're talking about. And then I think that does help you move that way. And so people do when they get to that point, they're like, you know what, I'm going to have Shawn do this. So,
Yeah. And you talk about, expertise, and you talked about, staffing as well. And that's a teaching you're going to do when you're onboarding someone. You put them through your training system, or, your training pathway there to get them on board. I noticed as I was doing a little bit of casual research. Regular podcast listeners will know that I don't do much research. But I was scrolling through the website here because I just wanted to see kind of how you had both branded and things like that. And I noticed on your career page that you have your NiceJob, trust badge, and you have your reviews there underneath. Not many people do that. I'm interested of why you did it. I know why it's a good move, but I'm interested in why you particularly did it.
I mean, so in that particular situation, I'll give more credit to my office person. She messed around with it and set that up. But I mean, the simple answer of that is that, when people are looking for a company to work for, seeing positive information about a company, both just their overall reputation. Um, we brought on a sales guy recently, and he asked a bunch of people, polled the audience, checked our reviews, looked at all those things to make sure that we had a solid reputation that he would then be able to sell based off of. You don't want to try and go sell crappy power washing services.com's, stuff. Like, you want to find a team in a company that's got the proper reputation, that's built that up. And that's always, reviews are social proof, plain and simple.
Yeah, and I think you guys are using it well there, because I was surprised. At first, I went through, because I always just check in whenever it's a NiceJob client, just to see how it's going, make sure everything's good and things like that. And I went on, and I thought I was directly on the reviews page, and then I saw the type form there, or the the application starter. Yeah,
Yep.
and I thought it was great, because you're spot on. People want to work, for companies that are out there doing great work, because the trust me, I've been in this exact position of trying to explain or apologize for, like, in my situation, is like a parent company, and try to explain, like, I had to own their reputation a bit, just based on kind of how they were acting. But yeah, I wanted to kind of pick your brain on that one, because it was, like I said, that was the first thing that kind of came up. And I thought I was on the review page at first, and it was just a half little scroll. So, someone that knew they clicked on the careers page, it was kind of instant, but it was kind of good to get off the top. But I think it also sets an expectation of what you're expecting. It's kind of a low key way of saying, like, hey, we're a 4.9 above company here. That's what we're going to be expecting from you when you come on board.
Well, and it's good for a client if they're looking at our reviews and seeing that, and then also seeing right next to it, people are going to be drug screened. They have to have their DOT physical. They non-smokers, like, points on their license, felony, like, all these questions to, like, show people that, yeah, we're not just bringing, Joe Schmo from the 7-Eleven that was like, yeah, man, I can power wash, like, there's more to it, bro.
And I think that also leads into what we talked about with education, is that they're understanding the vetting process that you're bringing in for a team member. And, you want a certain caliber that's going to take on, the level that you are looking for. As we get ready to sort of wrap it up here, Rob, if someone is thinking about just adding a new service in general, what is the high level, either like the mistake you thankfully avoided, or the thing you were glad, even if you lucked into it? Like, what's the one thing, like, hey, like, I know this voice was in the back of your head. Here's either how I handled it, or here's how I recovered if I made the mistake.
Man, there's okay. So there's a lot of ways to go on that. I'll pick on myself first of all. Last year, we also added on window cleaning. Bought all this window cleaning equipment, the water fed pole, the water stuff, because the whole selling packet is being able to do everything. The house wash, the roofs, gutters, deck, and now exterior window cleaning. We did less than 10 exterior window cleaning jobs, and I think I dropped about $3,000 or $4,000 in window cleaning equipment, because I wasn't ready to push it. I didn't really want to do much of it. And so that's kind of like the whole buying the equipment before you make sure that you've got the demand or the desire to do that. I would have been better off to either do a smaller investment, or also go visit somebody else to really see if the window cleaning stuff makes sense for us. Like, it's not it's not something that I want to do just window cleaning. Like it's just an extra way to make another $200 on a house wash. As far as for kind of looking into the opportunities here for the Christmas lights, um, seeing what other people were doing, looking into that, and then really just kind of, you know, test the waters. I knew we didn't have to buy a whole bunch of stuff, but we could use that, see how that works out. And it's also one of those things where if you keep thinking about, like, it keeps popping in your head, man, we should add this, man, we should add this, man, I should probably do this. And it was, again, as until we put that lights on our wrap, I was able to get, yeah, we're gonna add it at some point. Maybe we'll add it in like February. That's a good time to add Christmas lights, time for St. Patty's Day. Um, but I mean, finally getting that ball rolling, um, it's been good.
Well, that's I thank you so much for taking the time to hop on the podcast here. One thing I do know, you're big with a lot of local groups and things like that, but you do a lot on Facebook. But I know you're a very busy individual, but I have heard of you kind of taking the time to talk to some people, everything like that. If someone wants to kind of either pick your brain or see what you're about, where should we send them to? How can people get in touch with you?
So the businesses are Clean Power Wash, and Delmarva Christmas Lights. It's literally facebook.com/Delmarva Christmas Lights or /Clean Power Wash. We've also got the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Clean Power Wash. Those are going to be the best ways to reach out to me, or via Messenger on Facebook. Literally just find me and then shoot me a message. The friend request stuff gets out of hand because you see, okay, this person knows 3 people, this person knows 100 mutual people. But if you shoot me a message, I'm way more likely to respond. I'll typically respond right away or never.
There's
I
no
try to
gray.
do it right away, and if it's not right away, then it may get forgotten. Like the other 1,000 emails I haven't opened. So those are just bills and promotions. So, it's.
And if you don't open the bill, it actually doesn't count. That's what I've heard.
Exactly.
Awesome. Rob, my friend. Well, thank you so much for coming on and tell us a little bit about, the holiday lights yourself and, how you were able to kind of, add a whole new level to what you're doing down there in Maryland. So for the rest of you, thank you so much for tuning in for our Thursday live chat. Just a couple more episodes to go here in season 1. I hope you're enjoying it so far. And I would like to invite all of you, either to like the post as you see it, subscribe if you haven't. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, like, we're NiceJob. You could review the podcast. Reviews are incredibly important, and especially for podcasts as well. I kind of held off on asking because I wanted to make sure that the information that we were giving was kind of worthy. But now I think we're at a point now from some of the messages I've heard that we really want to help grow this thing. And if you have any guest suggestions, anything like that, we'd love to hear it as well. Once again, my guest today was Rob Anderson. You can find him in Clean Power Wash or Delmarva Christmas Lights. For all of you out there, thank you once again. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. Don't forget to have a little fun out there as well. We'll see you in the next episode.